In John Steinbeck's novel, East of Eden, the author takes many complicated subjects and deconstructs them in order to help the reader understand what he believes. The narrator defines monsters in the beginning of chapter 8 on page 72 in the novel East of Eden as variations from the accepted normal to a greater or a less degree. The narrator continues on the same page by explaining that just as there are monsters physically, there are monsters mentally as well, stating, "The face and body may be perfect, but if a twisted gene or a malformed egg can produce physical monsters, may not the same process produce a malformed soul?" Not only does the narrator state that monsters can be both physical and mental, he believes that you do not need to become a monster. You are either born one or you are not. As Steinbeck states on page 72 of East of Eden, as a child may be born without an arm, so one may be born without kindness or the potential of conscience. Finally, Steinbeck also states that since one is either born a monster or not, they are unaware of their status as they have been used to it their entire lives. Stating on page 72, you must not forget that a monster is only a variation, and that to a monster the norm is monstrous. By going into great depth with what the definition of a monster is, allows the reader to understand what Steinbeck thinks a monster is when he compares Kathy to one. Steinbeck establishes this in-depth meaning of the term monster in order to help the reader understand what he believes about Kathy. Steinbeck, on page 72, continually compares her to a monster by stating things such as, "She was not like other people, never was from birth." This aids in comparing her to a monster, as he does not directly call her a monster, but he mentions in his deconstruction of the word that monsters are born as a monster, it is not something that they become. Steinbeck also characterizes Kathy as awful when he expresses on page 73, "There was a time when a girl like Kathy would have been called possessed by the devil." Once again, Steinbeck believes that Kathy is a monster and makes his feelings about her very clear to the reader without directly using the term monster when referring to her. Steinbeck makes his views pertaining to monsters very clear, and makes it clear how dangerous he believes that monsters can be, and hopes that the reader will be able to recognize how dangerous they can be as well. Steinbeck believes that monsters are born and not made, and compares it to a genetic mutation. This is dangerous as there is nothing you can do to either become a monster or to avoid becoming a monster. You either are a monster or you are not one. Another reason that Steinbeck believes that monsters are so dangerous is because if you are a monster, you have no way of knowing that you are one, and compares it to someone being born without a hand. They do not know how much not having a hand has hindered them because they have no frame of reference as they've just grown up without a hand.